Hello, hello, how's it going? My name's Tanya, and this is the Fangirl Feels podcast. We typically have another host with us, Olivia, but this week she's not here, and I'll explain why. If you're new to the Fangirl Feels podcast, we meet every week to talk about all the books, TV shows, movies that give us all the feels. And so today, the reason why it's a special episode is because number one, happy Hallows Eve. The best time of the year, we think so. And so we wanted to come to you with a spooky podcast. And this episode is special because I recorded it a year ago with my two friends, Bekah and Rachel. And if you're looking at this on YouTube, you will see us in full Halloween costumes from Rachel's party last year. It was super fun. Try and guess who we were. We'll tell you in the comments if anyone's right. But anyways, this episode is about ghosts. We tell you 3 real ghost stories because we love horror. We love all types of horror about ghosts, the paranormal, the demonic, etc. And so we wanted to get together and record an episode. And that's what we did last year, but I never got around to editing it. So now a year later, we wanted to upload it during spooky season. So without further ado, sit back, light a candle, get out your Ouija board, and prepare to listen to 3 real stories of the paranormal.
Do you want me to? Can I tackle the intro?
Yeah, go ahead.
Welcome, kitties. I'm sorry. I really am gonna tackle it.
Welcome to the Spooky Scary Podcast, where we talk about things that give you goosebumps and go bump in the night. I'm one of your hosts. My name's Tanya.
I'm Bekah.
I'm Rachel.
Today, we're going to talk about ghosts. Everyone you know has... No, not everyone you know. What am I saying?
Everyone you know will become a ghost one day. So we're going to visit this topic so you too can prepare yourself for the afterlife and for those you love.
All right, no, I got this. Ready? Today, we're going to talk about ghosts. Today, I wanted to ask you two a question. What's a scary location that you're dying to visit one day?
For me, it's Gettysburg, I think. Well, I guess nationally, there's probably some international. There's definitely haunted castles in different places that I would like to see, but Gettysburg for sure. I've heard multiple stories from people who have visited that have had experiences. And people that went into it as skeptics. They would have never considered themselves open to anything like that. And then they come back and they have had some sort of paranormal experience.
I've never heard of people having stories there. That's just super interesting. You know multiple people
yeah.
with stories there. Yes.
And even Bekah's mom has stories. And people that are not connected in any way. I don't know, this stuff always comes up because I talk about spooky, haunted stuff all the time. And I've had multiple people come forward with their accounts of going to Gettysburg and either feeling something kind of disruptive, I guess, or actually seeing spirits.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, especially like battlefields I think that that's always a real hot spot for just general weird feelings. Yeah. I think my spooky spot that I would be really interested in is actually still in Ohio. So I went to school in Athens, Ohio, and there is a location down there called The Ridges, which is an old asylum. And I've been on the outside. I've done countless tours on the outside, but it is very rare where they actually hold tours for the inside, especially after COVID and all of that. So they actually haven't even started actual like in-house tours of the Ridges yet. But there are a lot of very interesting spooky stories surrounding the Athens Asylum, just in general. And I would love to tour the inside of that place. I took a haunted hayride up there one time, and I went around the outside, and it is a very cool building. I do believe that OU actually owns it now. They've got like research buildings and stuff out there now. But I think it would be definitely in their best interest to kind of open that up to the public to tour the inside, and I would be very interested in seeing that.
Oh, that's super interesting. You'll have to take us,
yeah.
Obviously, whenever you do that. I personally, and I do want to do this, but I almost don't want to do it because of my fears, but the catacombs in Paris. I am claustrophobic, so that would be an issue. And I've seen enough movies where the claustrophobia gets to the person in the catacombs. So I'd be afraid to do it, but it would be so interesting to be in a space that is like that. I've never done anything like that. So that'd be on my list.
Can you describe the catacombs?
It is, I don't know the history for sure, but I guess underneath they have like, the catacombs are basically just like a labyrinth of a burial site. There's a bunch of people buried, and I truly have forgotten or don't know the history of like who's buried there and why.
Okay. I think I saw like a suspected like schematic of them before, and it just looked like that, right? like it just looked insane. And I think correct me if I'm wrong, but I do think that are there catacombs in Paris and there's some in Italy too?
I'm not sure.
I don't know, but I vaguely remember, and this might be something that I need to look into, but there was a girl who actually was down in the catacombs, couldn't get out, and she actually passed away down there. Was that in the Paris one?
That was in the Paris one.
Okay. All right, cool. And I recently came across that story, and I was like, oh my gosh, what a nightmare.
How terrifying.
What a nightmare. Pitch dark down there, and you're just endless labyrinths, like you said, and not being able to find your way out. That is so terrifying. That is so scary.
That is scary. and then, okay, segue to my next question to you all is, do you have any like innate fears because you're human, and mine is claustrophobia, right? So like, it doesn't matter where I am, if something, I'm gonna knock on wood because I feel like I need to, but if I'm in something that is like containing me and I can't figure out how to get out of it, even if it's a bigger space, like I'm locked in a room, I'm inherently afraid. What are some like human fears like that?
Heights. I am
heights.
Deathly afraid of heights.
I'm skeptical of people who aren't afraid of heights.
And I do think that it's just like one of those very biological, from like our early human days of staying close to like terra firma. Like, I do consider myself a very like terrestrial creature. I do not like climbing up on ladders. I do not like being in planes. I do not like walking up a fire tower, for instance. So I would definitely say fear of heights is my all-time biggest fear of all time.
What about you, Rachel?
Not a fan of heights. I definitely don't like spiders. I don't know that it's fear necessarily. There's just some sort of physiological reaction that I have with spiders where it gives me the creeps. They give me the creeps, the way that they look and they move.
I think that's really biological too. Creepy crawlies.
Yeah.
Just be like, that's bad for me. And like everything in your body telling you not to get anywhere closer to it.
Yeah. I would say also the nun from the movie The Nun.
Oh, that's fair.
You know, from the second Conjuring movie. That visual of the nun creeps me out.
Catholicism.
Like yeah.
As a whole.
Yeah. The Catholic Church. It's representative of the Catholic Church. So I guess going back to your question, my fear is the Catholic Church.
There we go.
Yeah.
All right. Very interesting.
Terrifying.
We're going to get into the meat of what we're going to talk about today. We want to talk about ghost stories. So to dive right into it, we're going to talk about our own personal ghost stories or ghost stories that our family members or friends have heard. My ghost story starts, it's a little sad. I will say that. I'll start out with that. But
Because someone died?
Yeah.
Okay.
My grandfather in 2019 had passed away. He had come here from India. We had brought him over here. And he didn't really want to come over here, but because all of his sons had moved over here, we brought him over, especially since he was like in his 90s. So we wanted him to be here near his grandkids. And he passed away in the fall. The day was really sad, but also happy because we knew he lived a great life, right? He was surrounded by loved ones, and he was generally loved by the people he was surrounded by. I drove back that day, and I was just a little tired, and I had come back with my boyfriend since after the funeral. It was during the day. We came back home, and I just wanted to go lay down upstairs in my family's house. Everyone else was either downstairs or doing different things. You know, we had just gotten home from a long day at a funeral. So I went upstairs, and when you go upstairs in my family home, there's a long hallway before you get to my bedroom, my childhood bedroom where we were sleeping. And so I'm going upstairs, and I go down the hallway to my bedroom, and as I'm passing the bathroom, when I turned and I passed the bathroom, I heard Rithi. And Rithi is my sister's name, and I was like confused. What was that? What could that have been? And I looked, so in this corner are 4 rooms, along with the bathroom. So my room, my sister's room, my brother's room, and the bathroom. And so I thought that perhaps my sister's up there, like changing or something after the funeral. And so I opened her childhood room, no one's there. Opened my brother's room, no one's there. Opened the bathroom, no one's there. There's no one up here but me. And I looked down the hall, and James had stopped at my parents' room down the hallway, so it was literally just me at this side of the hallway. And it just really struck me. And I felt like it was my grandpa's way of saying goodbye to my sister. Again, her name's Rithi. He was closer to her. She actually grew up with him in India. I didn't really have a close relationship with him at all. And so I think I look like her. I think that was his way of saying goodbye.
Yeah.
And so that's my only ghost story. It's a sad one, but I do believe.
I think that's very cool. And I don't know if it's, I do think it's sad in the fact that it was a death, but I also think that our lost loved ones, that they come back, whether it be in a dream or whether it just be in passing. I think that that's a wonderful thing. And I think that it's wonderful that was an experience that you and only you got to have after the passing of your grandfather. So I think that that's an absolutely wonderful story, in my personal opinion.
Even if it wasn't intended for
sweet.
You know what I mean?
He's just passing through, right? I think that's lovely.
I got a message.
I think that's wonderful.
Or it was like one last way of being like, she was my favorite.
Yeah. Right?
Don't tell the other ones I love you. Honestly true. Honestly probably true.
And
he didn't really know me that well.
Maybe he just got a quick glance at you, and you said that you and your sister look very similar, so who knows?
So who knows?
I think that's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that story.
Yeah, no problem. My family doesn't believe it necessarily. They and again, it brings back to like skepticism of like they think that I was just hearing things. Yeah. But I do like, I'm pretty skeptical, and I do think I heard something.
Yeah. They're like, oh, our Tanya, she's just going crazy. It's fine.
Wild.
Just hearing things as usual.
Rachel, would you like to tell your ghost stories?
Yeah. So this is my hallmark ghost story that I usually tell when I'm introing people to the depth with which my ghost story love goes. So it was the summer of my, I think, 8th grade year. It was between 8th grade and freshman year. So I was old enough to be at home by myself. My parents worked, the whole latchkey kid thing. And I didn't really have anything going on during the summer, so I would hang out at home and play. I think I played like solitaire.com a lot online.
As you do.
There wasn't a lot to do at that point in time on the internet. The way that our house was set up, it was an old, over 100-year-old house, and I was downstairs, and there was this Jack and Jill bathroom, meaning when the doors would open, you would be able to see through the bathroom from one room to the next. And the rooms that it adjoined were the family room, sort of, and then what we called the computer room. Because back at that time, you only had one computer in your house, and it was in a room. And it was the computer room. But anyway, so I was in the computer room, the Jack and Jill bathroom doors were open, and so I could see through the bathroom to the living room or the family room or whatever. And again, I was by myself, but it was the middle of the day. This wasn't anything out of the ordinary. So I'm playing solitaire.com and absolutely crushing it.
Yeah.
No, but I was playing, and I felt something watching me almost. Just kind of an uncomfortable feeling. So the way our computer was situated was such that when you were facing the computer, your back was to that open door of the bathroom. So I felt something back there sort of making me feel uncomfortable. And naturally I turn around because again, it's the middle of the day. There was no reason for me to be scared or whatever. I turn around and I see this face peering around the door frame of the living room through the bathroom to look at me in the computer room. And it's been a really long time. I was, 14 maybe? So approximately 97 years ago. And so the memory is a little fuzzy. But what I remember of it is that it didn't really have any hair. It was partially see-through, but almost a like whitish gray color. But the teeth, that's the thing that I always recall when I think about the story, is the teeth. So the teeth were very jagged. It almost looked like the version of vampires where every single one of their teeth are pointy and jagged. Yeah. But the smile that it had was the most troubling part of it, because it knew that I knew it could see me. So it just seemed very, I guess, intelligent, for lack of a better word, and almost as if it knew that it made me uncomfortable or scared me. So I freaked out. I mean, what else would you do? And I ran out of the house, but I didn't know where I was gonna go. So I came back in my house and I called my grandma, because she lived on the other side of town, and had her come pick me up. And then for the rest of the summer, I refused to stay at my house. I stayed with my grandma because I was so scared. And school was getting ready to start, so I needed to come back home. And I remember having a conversation with my mom about this and telling her why I was scared to come back to the house. And she said, I know what you saw. I've seen it too. I don't think it's malicious. I don't think it's trying to hurt anyone. I think it's just playful. And I don't know at that point in time if I felt better or worse, because acknowledging that this thing existed makes it real. And so at the time, it made me probably feel a little bit better knowing that I could just explain it away, you know, the hysteria of being a teenage woman or something. But her acknowledging it freaked me out. So I think it was a couple of days before school was getting ready to start. I was back at the house, at my parents' house, and I was trying to get comfortable with the situation, and I still was very nervous. So I went to the center of the house. I don't know how. I had heard this somewhere or read it somewhere that was like, if you proclaim that you want a spirit to leave, that it will leave. So I was out of other options because I knew I had to stay in this house, but I was just terrified and not able to sleep very well. So I go to the center of the house, and because again, I'm at home by myself, that's just how it was then. And I just say out loud, this is my house, you are not welcome here, you have to leave. And then after that, I didn't feel as scared, and then I never had any other encounters, and neither did my mom while we lived in that house, which was until I moved out to go to the Air Force. So
wow,
that's terrifying.
That is terrifying. Okay, so what you saw was absolutely terrifying. I'm not gonna act like it wasn't, but I guess at that moment where your own mom acknowledged to you that she had seen the exact same thing and was very nonchalant about it, how did you feel about that situation?
So I couldn't tell if it was she was telling me that to make me feel better and to make it seem like it's fine, it's not the scary thing, or if it had really happened and she had really seen it. But I just remember thinking at the time, why wouldn't you tell me that this thing existed here? Like, how long has it been here?
Right.
How long have I been living with this thing?
It's a big secret, Mom.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This thing, like, ghoulish vampire being that's just hanging out in our house, spying on us around the corners.
Looking back at it after years, do you still think it's real?
I have no other explanation for it. But I never really had any other encounters in that house other than there were just some pockets of the house that felt kind of uncomfortable, and that's how it had always been. So that wasn't different after that situation, but I don't know. I don't have a way to explain it away. Mm-hmm. There's nothing rational that I can come up with to explain it. I wasn't looking at anything like that on the computer. And in fact, like, graphics such as that did not exist on the computers that we had at that time anyway. So
yeah, I always feel like, and I think that there is sort of like a reckless abandon from somebody who is interested in the paranormal and somebody who is interested and loves the idea of ghosts and hauntings and spooky things, especially, and I think that's easy to say from somebody who had never had any personal experiences with the paranormal. I've only ever heard it like a secondhand account from a friend, from a family member, or anything like that, and never having experienced that myself. I feel like I do kind of seek those things out. So, you know, going into a dark basement never really spooked me out. Going into, you know, an abandoned building, that never really spooked me out. And of course, like, I do think that we kind of have a very negative view of that, especially in the Black community, especially in spooky, spooky movies. I'm going to go check it out. I'm sorry. I'm going to go investigate. I'm sorry. I'm looking underneath of the house. I'm sorry. I'm looking in the unlit bedroom. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it every time. Only because, like, I do think that, you know, kind of being a skeptic leads you to believe that the worst thing you're going to encounter is a cobweb in the face when you go in there. You know what I mean? I don't think that, let's say that ghosts do exist. I don't necessarily think they have any ill intent. You know? I can't say one way or the other. I think maybe they may just be lost. So it's hard to say. And you know what? If they do, I'm down to be the one that proves that they're mean.
That they're mean.
Yeah, so I'm willing to kind of go out on a limb to kind of investigate those types of things.
you're willing to be the example.
You'll
be the example.
I'll go in there with the flashlight. I'll be the first one in there.
This is a perfect segue.
Yeah.
Like, do you have any stories from your family that you believe in enough to tell?
I think the thing with ghost stories or like any sort of encounters or like hearing some specter in the dark, I think that there is always an element of truth to them, right? Like I don't think that what, you know, Rachel is talking about I don't think that can be refuted. I don't think that anything that you had talked about in your story can be refuted. I think that those are all rooted in truth. You know, either way, y'all experienced exactly what you experienced. I have not had any of those types of experiences, but I think a good example of maybe where I think that there could be a little more deeper diving, and I don't think that there's no way that we can go back to this exact point in time to kind of check it or like refute what my little sister said. But I was talking to y'all about this before we started recording about my sister's experience with kind of hearing someone talk to her right before an earthquake happened. So my little sister, she lives down in Athens, and when we were in college, she was the bar cleaner for Jackie O's. She was there cleaning the bar. I would say it's probably about 6:37 in the morning. And she's usually the only person in there cleaning. So that's the shift before, you know, they open for lunch, and she's just kind of cleaning, waiting for everybody, all the servers and things like that, to get there for prep for the next day. So she was the only one in there and cleaning. And she hears the voice of a little girl, and I'll have to check with her to kind of verify what this little voice had said to her, but I think it was somewhere along the lines of hey or hi or, you know, something of that nature, kind of like behind her. She didn't see anything, but shortly after that, Athens got an earthquake. And I had felt it. I was getting ready to go to work at the time. And of course, when she came back home from work, she's like, did you feel that earthquake? And then she told us the story. So I think that might be the closest that I can get to just kind of like an anecdotal story. In my family, I'm sure there's more, but that one offhand, I think, because an earthquake happened, and that was kind of a monumental occasion for me in my personal life. But I do think it's really interesting that she had kind of an experience before that tectonic event.
potentially related.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, that's what they say. They do say that seismic activity definitely heightens those certain type of paranormal experiences. So I think that if I were to speculate, I don't think that that was something that was her eyes playing tricks on her. Obviously, she didn't see anything, but she definitely heard something. And I do think it's very odd right before an earthquake that was felt in the entire little town that we were in. So I'd have to say, whether it was a ghost or not, she definitely heard somebody talking to her.
That's interesting.
Jackie O's, if you'd like to sponsor us, that'd be super cool.
Oh, wouldn't that be great?
We can come investigate.
Yeah.
I would also be interested in talking to other people that were living in that area at the time to see if they experienced anything.
Definitely.
So we could sort of corroborate these accounts.
What year was that?
Let's see. I want to say it may have been 2011, 2012.
Okay.
Maybe.
Looks like November of 2013.
Okay. All right.
2013.
Sounds about right.
All right.
So,
Well, if you were in Athens, Chiron, 2013 during the earthquake, please reach out to spookyscarypod@gmail.com. Any last thoughts on the paranormal? Any last thoughts on interpretations of the paranormal or your own experiences?
I mean, there was that one, do y'all remember that meme that was floating around of, I don't remember what paranormal show it was, but there's that infamous like screen grab of the guy in like night vision, and he's like, "Hey demons, it's me, your boy." Do y'all remember that?
No, I do not.
I feel like that's my, whether it's disrespectful or not, I feel like that is kind of like my personal ethos when it comes to the paranormal. Like,
you are that meme?
I am that meme.
Okay.
Hey, come holler at your girl, right? Like, I'm trying to see you type of situation.
I just googled the meme and it's, "Hey there, demon, it's me, ya boy." I love it.
Do you have it pulled up right now?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah, that's the exact one. Yeah. But yeah, that's how I feel about the paranormal. I do think that to a certain extent I have absolutely no fear of, you know, any sort of spooky stories, whether that's to my detriment or not, whatever. Like, I'm down for a good haunting. It's been a while, so.
My mom always used to say, the living are more scary than the dead.
I would have to agree
You
with
should
that.
fear the living more than you fear ghosts
Yeah.
or spirits. Because again, like I said, I was so scared for so long. But I think it's because I am maybe more receptive to it. I've had experiences in addition to the one that I shared, but that's how I feel now, especially is like real people are way more scary than supposed ghosts.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think my viewpoint on ghosts and hauntings is investigate. See where did that noise come from? Is there something that happened that you could explain where that noise came from or how that thing fell versus just automatically saying
Right.
it's something paranormal.
Yeah.
And maybe it is something paranormal, but investigate it and figure out
I agree.
what really is going on.
Thank you all so much for listening in. And that's it.
Yay!
We have no sponsors.
I'm Ira Glass.